All right, so awesome. I've got Kasun here at Good Fruit Investors at our studio. We're just having a good conversation and we're talking about protecting against loss. So we're looking forward to connecting with you. All right. So when it comes to protecting against losses, like here's the thing. When I have an investment, the last thing I want to do is go to cash in and all of a sudden I go to cash in and I'm like, what? I got negative dollars?
Yeah.
That sucks. Like, how do we protect against loss? Like, what is your thought process? And it doesn't necessarily have to be on investments. It could be on anything in general. Keep in mind, a lot of viewers probably don't even have an understanding just yet about how to invest, and some of them are a little bit more savvy on it.
Right.
But when you think about investing, and protecting against loss, what comes to mind? Like, what are some things that you would do to try to avoid having that loss?
Well, I can go to one of those two examples that I gave in the previous one about the stroller stuff.
Okay.
Right, selling a marketplace. If I want to protect my investment on the strollers, let's say, for example, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't try to sell my strollers in the wintertime because then I'll have to take down the prices to the lowest, and then hopefully I will still keep a smaller profit, but then I wouldn't get the same amount of profit if I didn't wait for, like, let's say a few more months or early spring or little late spring or something. Then I would get a little bit more profit by selling the exact same thing. It's just you're waiting for different time to sell it.
So what would be like a price difference that you're talking about? Like what would happen if you sold it in the low time?
So let's say I bought something for $100, right?
Yeah.
I want to sell it for $150.
Yeah.
Right. If I want to sell it during the winter time, I would probably sell it for $125.
Okay.
Right. Or even 120.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's very low, right?
Right.
And then if you waited for summertime, you probably end up selling for 160, 175.
Interesting.
Right?
That's really good. Yeah.
In the same time, if I invested on let's say skis or something like that, I could have sell that the same thing on the winter time, which I have a bigger profit. So it's all about when it goes up and down, you have to keep an eye on it.
Okay, so you brought up two things. So one, it sounded like you sell in the summer. The other one, you sell in the winter. So if you're trying to protect against losses, do you think maybe, like, if you're selling both of those products, it's probably like a way where you could maybe be diversified where, at least in one sense you're selling in the winter, and then in the other you're selling in the summer.
Yeah.
So you could be buying both of these items on a regular basis, and you're kind of protecting yourself from losing the money because you obviously still have to pay yourself out of this. So if you're like, cutting it short and you're like, oh man, I really need some funds right now, the last thing you want to do is have that loss. And so having that like diversification, I think, is one way to help protect against loss.
Definitely.
So that's an interesting thing. And that, I think, is really just a principle just that works, right? Like when we are able to diversify like that, then it kind of helps to avoid some of those losses.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not only about selling, like when you're buying it, like you can buy, let's say if you want to buy a stroller in the wintertime, you probably will find it for a cheaper price than when you find it in the summertime too.
So what you're telling me then, from what I'm understanding, is the stroller is bought in the winter, so then you get it for a cheaper price, and then you're selling it in the summer.
Yeah.
Would you say that you're buying the skis in the summer then? For cheaper?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you buy the skis in the summer for cheaper, so you're literally buying and selling opposite of each other.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I found. So this all of a sudden it's happened. I mean, I didn't plan for it or anything. It's like, oh, skis. Yeah. Okay, I'll buy it for like $50 or something.
Yeah.
And then you sell it for like a good profit in the wintertime.
Yeah, well, don't give out all your secrets. Okay, I mean, everybody might be jumping on this, but
I was doing it for fun. It was fun.
Yeah,
just meeting new people and stuff. So
yeah, that's good. But that really makes sense because if you're, then you're really maximizing your profit potential, by being diversified like that, because you're not having those, those swings down. And if you really were to think about this in the form of like actually what that would look like in an investment account, you would actually see on a graph that your finances would gradually go up. Where if, let's say, you only did the strollers, it would probably look more like this.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Really wavy. So it's like, so actually by doing that, you end up creating a little bit more of a healthy curve. And so that's really what a lot of people try to do even when we're getting into different types of investments. Protecting against loss helps to avoid those kinds of falls. And then also, like what you're saying, like let's say somebody's ready to start cashing out a lot of their investment, making sure that they're doing that in the right time is extremely important too. So,
and if you're willing to wait, right, that's, I think, one of the key things is you just wait until, just like you're fishing, you put the fish thing on and then you just wait until the right fish
that's right
to it, kind of thing.
And I think the thing too to think about when you're talking about fishing is like the lure that we're using. Because if I'm using like a bass lure and I'm trying to catch a pike, I'm not necessarily.
No. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah,
so it's like the same thing with the maybe the investment instruments that we use. If I'm wanting something for like say a short-term time horizon, and I'm using a long-term investment strategy, that might actually not work out because the investment that I have might go through a dipping time where the market maybe pulls back a bit or maybe softens where it doesn't. It doesn't go up as fast at that particular time. And so by the time I go to cash out my investment, it's not like a guarantee. So there's less of that. But if I, maybe lower my expectation of profit, then I might have less of that fluctuation where I'm going to have it go against me. So in a short-term time frame, maybe that's the better approach, and then the long-term. So it really is interesting. Yeah. So. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming out on the show and sharing your thoughts.
No problem.
And we're looking forward.
Go fishing sometime.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I like fishing. So that's cool. All right, well, take care, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Ciao.